Everyone has heard of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, one of the most famous temples in the world. But did you know that there's actually a series of temples in Vietnam that were built almost 8 centuries earlier, that even after years of archaeological investigation, no one knows how they were built? In this week's video, I explore Hoi An and the incredible My Son, the temple full of unexplained answers. Then in the evening, I explore the Lantern City and its incredible nightlife before attending one of the best cooking classes in Vietnam. I hope you enjoy this episode of my adventures around Southeast Asia. We'd spent a few days in Hoi An, and there are 2 ways to travel from Hoi An to Hue. You can either take the inland route, which is slightly shorter, or you can take the scenic route, which goes along the coast and over the mountains, offering incredible views over the sea. As I mentioned before, My Son was built from the 4th to the 14th century, whereas Angkor Wat was built in the 12th century onwards, meaning that My Son massively predates Angkor Wat. And even though it isn't quite as extensive a site, there is a mystery here that has been frustrating archaeologists for years, which is, why did they build the temples where they did in the middle of Vietnam, and also how did they build them? At present, there is a joint restoration project going on between India and Vietnam. However, the areas that they've restored look completely different to the original buildings, and the reason why is because of a technique that we now seem to have lost, which enabled them when building to somehow almost fuse the bricks together, preventing weeds and moss growing on the brick.
Sacrifice human. Now, I told you, something missing here.
The areas that have been restored in the 21st century are already more weathered than the sections that were built over a millennium ago. This is absolutely crazy to think about, even ignoring the sacredness of the place, which is hard to communicate through video. Unfortunately, some temples were bombed in the Vietnam War, so there are a couple missing, and you can see the impact of the bomb craters. There is a small fee to go in, but a lot of that goes towards the restoration and maintenance of the site, which to me is well worth it, particularly when you also consider that you get to experience a traditional Vietnamese dance when you are there. The show is put on around every hour and draws a big crowd, as the grace, style and execution is pretty incredible to see. There's always a story and a bunch of hidden meaning lying within the dance, which I think is really cool, as these stories are always very unique and specific to the place that they were created. After we finished exploring My Son, we had some lunch before taking a boat down the river back to Hoi An where we were staying. We rested up for a bit before heading out to get dinner and experience the old town lanterns and lights that Hoi An is famous for. We stopped at a little cafe in an alleyway nearby off the main street where you tend to get haggled, but it was so easy to miss as even when I was looking for it, I walked straight past it. However, it was absolutely fantastic and I wanted to go here because it had really good reviews. The owner of this place was absolutely lovely and we had a variety of dishes and a great smoothie, and all I can say is that the food was absolutely delicious and the vibe was fantastic, and it was so nice to not be on the main street with people everywhere. From there we checked out the night market that a lot of people visit Hoi An for, with its incredible lanterns, lights and tourist traps. It was very pretty to look at, but unfortunately there isn't much to do other than looking, to be honest. It was very beautiful, but after being haggled quite a bit I quickly decided I wanted to leave. The next morning we got up bright and early to go to a cooking class. We were picked up by our lovely guide and we biked to one of the local markets where we picked up a few things before we then biked out to one of the more rural areas to do some cooking. But before we could even get our hands dirty in the kitchen, we had to get our hands dirty working in the garden. The cooking class we did is a family-run business that hasn't been operating for a very long time, and the granddad, who is the farmer, took us out and showed us how they do things and explain stuff about their land, which was a lot of fun. He had a great sense of humour and was an absolute joy to be around. We also made some of the best food I have had in Vietnam, even if I got fire in my face while I was cooking it. We biked back to our hotel to get ready for our flight to Ho Chi Minh, which I'll be exploring in next week's video, so I hope you tune in for that one. Thanks for watching and I hope you have a good day wherever you are.